Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining today. We have got a wonderful webinar coming up ahead of us. Amazing people here today. And personally, I'm very excited for this webinar specifically. Wow, look good. Good to see you, Nicholas. Nathan, good to see you. Cliff, hello, hello. Brian, Austin, all the way from Austin. Good to see you. Susan, Ted, good to see you. Man, we got a lot of great people. Tyler, good to see you. Hello, hello. Kyler, Lance, wow, how cool. So many people already joining in. You guys are the A plus students today, which is exciting. So we're gonna get started here in the next like 2 to 3 minutes. But I threw an audible at our audience today because I wanted to. For the people that show up early today, I wanted to just go through and have everybody just share like one thing they're really grateful for about starting their moving business or about their business and kind of just the pulse on where they're at today. So we'll just take a minute each person and go through. We'll start with Neacail and then Sabrina and then Chris and then I will, once everyone's here, introduce you guys to all of us. So like let's just go, Neacail, if you want to start, just share like maybe one thing that you're super grateful about this business, and then kind of maybe a pulse of like what you're working through or your biggest struggle right now, or whatever you want to share, just a current pulse.
Yeah, absolutely. We're coming out of the housing market crisis where interest was high, inventory was low, and the companies that made it were the ones that, that changed with the times. And I have to give credit where credit's due. My team is amazing. Just watching them flourish and empowering them. I used to be that owner that thought I needed to kind of have hands-on in everything. And I've really taken a step back and empowered the team, just to step up and just watching them come to fruition and do all the things that they do and all the systems that they know how to run has just been absolutely phenomenal to watch. They get excited over things, and it's all, obviously it's going to the company's top line, and it's like they get excited for it and it's kind of just fun to watch.
That is super cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Sabrina, welcome. And I'm excited to hear about your stuff.
Thanks, Travis. I would kind of echo what Nikal said as far as like I'm grateful for the challenges because I learned something new from each one of them. But really, it's the team that I have in the office as well as the people that go out every day and do the hard work and
Mm,
deliver the culture that we promise our customers. So, none of us here on the phone call today could do it ourselves. And so it's the people that believe in the vision that we've put forth. And as far as something that we're focusing on right now is that we're developing like a KPI dashboard in different departments of our company. And so that is really sharpening everybody's skills on and just learning more about what KPIs are in different parts of our company. So that's been a lot of fun.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Chris.
Hey guys, I'm Chris with Swamp Rabbit Moving out of Greenville, South Carolina, and what I am most thankful for is actually the moving industry as a whole. Take myself for example, just a mover at another moving company, with just a little bit of money down and a lot of ambition. I was able to build something really special and create a opportunity for not just myself but other members on my team to have a successful life. And something that we are working on right now is actually we're in the tail end of our FDD process, beginning able to start selling franchise. So that has been a learning lesson in itself, pain points, enjoyment, all of the above. But it's been really cool to get in there and kind of learn the ins and out of that process.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. Appreciate you guys just opening up and being real and vulnerable and honest. And how exciting. We're going to do a fun transition to starting this webinar. This for everybody, just to make sure you guys can see the screen. Can you see the screen? Can you see us? Put a one in if you can see the screen, see us, hear us in the chat so we know that you can chat and we know that things are going well. Thank you, Garrett. You're paid to put that in there. Thank you, Gary, Susan. Awesome. Just so you guys know, in the chat there is a little blue button, and it says who you're sending the chat to. Make sure I should put it on a t-shirt for every time I do this webinar. Make sure it says everyone. It defaults to just the host and panelists, and so just make sure you change it to everyone. That way when your message goes out, it goes to everyone. So let's jump in. We don't need any more logistics. Put in your questions in the chat. We're going to be sharing on the unconventional ways and revenue streams that you can add to your business. And so we've got three amazing speakers today, three amazing guest speakers today. We've got Neacail. Neacail, wave your say hi. He is the
Hello.
founder. There you go. He's the founder of Murdoch's Moving. He's located in Northern California, and I've personally seen him grow his company into multiple locations. And one of the things that he started that I got to personally see, and then has kind of continued, is really figuring out how to build that referral based business model and how to use that referral base, whether it's realtors or other referrals, to grow his company. And it's been so cool to see. And so I've asked him to come and share that today with everybody. We've also got Sabrina. Sabrina, wave, say hi.
I'm the girl.
There, you're the girl. I've got Sabrina here. Sabrina is the founder of Move Her, a woman-owned moving company in Washington, the beautiful state there. She also owns Maids of Move Her, a professional cleaning company that was started in COVID. She also owns Put a Cork in It, which is a temperature and humidity controlled wine storage. The businesses are just flowing out of Sabrina, all from her moving company as like the base foundation. And she's going to just share how she thinks through this, how she puts these other revenue streams and businesses in play, and ultimately capitalizes on the valuable business that she has as a moving business, and then spews out all these other businesses. So thank you for being here today. And then we've got Chris Sweet. Chris, say hi, wave. Thanks for being here. Chris is the founder of Swamp Rabbit Moving, rapidly growing moving company. He launched in 2020. He's grown his business over $5 million. I think he's told me some milestones are pushing way higher than that, which is awesome. And one of the things he attributes to his growth to is just the valuable partnerships in real estate. And what he's done is taken a unique approach into creating a real estate podcast in his area. So he's going to share how he did that, why he did that, and how you can actually do the same. So thank you guys for all being here. I appreciate you taking the time, energy, and effort out. I'm personally excited. We've already got T minus like 53 minutes left. So let's jump in right now. We're going to have Neacail go first. I guess we got three hopes for today. Three hopes. One, you discover new revenue streams for your business. That's why we're here. Number two, I hope you guys learn to build profitable realtor partnerships. And number three, I want you guys to be inspired and take action. We go to conferences, we go to webinars, we listen. Like there's just so much knowledge. And one of the best things you can do is just choose one small thing and just take action on that. So that's where we're going today. Let's just jump right into it. We've got our panelists. We've already gone through that. Neacail, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to hear from you, and I'll just let you take it away.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate the invite, and I hope to deliver some value today. So, one thing, I'm not discounting any of the other strategies, Google, SEO. Those are a big part of, how we grow
You
our
better not
business.
discount that stuff,
Yeah.
okay?
But one of the methods or the strategies people miss is just that human to human, contact, and especially with people that are, in direct contact with our clients. So without further ado, I call it the Murdoch method just for, our guest today. But it's not that hard to implement. So yeah, we'll just jump right in. So my story in 60 seconds. Yeah, I started my business in 2018. I just graduated, Chico State, and I was like anybody else that I hear a lot in the industry. You started with the truck, it's a rental truck, and a couple of buddies, and then as you progress down that road, you start to kind of figure it out. And it wasn't until I went to college with Austin Yarbrough from Central Coast Moving. So me and him were kind of the first like partnership collab, and just how we, grew our businesses. Yeah, fast forward today, we're up to 10 trucks, two locations, and we're growing rapidly. So, yeah, so the current problem is I think people or moving companies heavily rely on digital ads, which isn't, the worst thing. It works. But, as we all know, digital ads are expensive and they can be competitive. And then over reliance on traditional lead generation, just dumping money into Google, not tracking the metrics and making sure those are converting. And then they were just kind of inconsistent at times. Sometimes LSA is up, sometimes sponsored Google ads are up, sometimes Yelp comes in. I wanted something that was a lot more consistent. So. The opportunity was, if you think about realtors, and I mention this to anybody I get a chance to talk to, is they are literally, direct contact with our customers, right? They're one and the same. Their client is also our customer. So, realtors, I don't know about your areas, but in my area, there's about 600 realtors that service, about a third of that inventory. So it's just like there's just way more realtors than there are homes. So when people pick their realtor, it's often for a reason, right? They either really respect that person, like that person, and it's just kind of a relationship between the realtor and that client. I can personally tell you that we have a much higher close success ratio when referred to by a realtor, and it's often overlooked. A lot of people will sleep on that realtor lender affiliate network. It's just if you dig deep in that area, it can definitely produce. And I'm here to tell you that these numbers, they're real. So.
Nikhil, before you move on here, you mentioned how it's like often overlooked, and you're about to share like how you just basically started then taking action on this. What were some of the things that like tugged at your heart, or you just had that gut feeling that made you start going, I really need to start considering what you're about to share with us, so that the audience, if they're sitting here, they can go, oh my gosh, that's me, and that maybe this is it. Like, is there anything that you're like, this like really like put me over the line, or this is what was tugging at me that was like, I need to do this?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, I'm a people person. So, I kind of gravitate towards that networking. And a lot of people get it wrong where they're like, I need to meet everybody, right? And that's not my strategy when I get in there. I think if you develop those connections with those, like, a few and just kind of build from there, it'll kind of grow. But I just knew that there was something more to that person to person connection. I know we're living in a world of AI and, things are becoming more and more technologically advanced, but still that human element is still there, right? And, we're all humans at the end of the day and we're social creatures. So I knew that there was something there to be had. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, Travis, anytime. So like I said earlier, that aha moment, after I'd exhausted and dumped a bunch of money into Google, Yelp, Meta ads, and everything else, that, realtors do have our customers in the palm of their hand. And that a warm introduction will often beat a cold lead any day of the week, or a warm lead, like you get that Google lead, and you probably aren't the only person, giving that estimate to. Often when you get that realtor referral, you are that only person doing that on-site, or talking to that person. I just spoke to somebody I saw in my local Facebook realtor group. One of the realtors I hadn't met yet had asked, hey, I need a moving company that's extremely, personable and can really work with somebody that's extremely, particular about their fragile items. And just the overwhelming post of us was just immense. It just, it filled my cup, and I was just like, that's why we do it. And so it's just key to build that, those relationships, and just make sure it's not just what's in it for us as the moving company. You got to make sure it's what's in it for them as well, right? So we'll get into that a little bit more, but yeah. So my frameworks, so you want to like research. So the first thing you want to do is research, the associations in your area and see what's available to you. And so once you figure out that, you want to be consistent and coming to those meetings. You want to set introductions. I have three different associations that we're a part of, and I often have our booth set up, and so it's very obvious, and it's kind of a running joke in my main location area, is like nobody else does that. So it's like our area that we always set up our booth, which anybody's welcome to do it, but we're the only ones that keep showing it up. Keep it simple. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated. You want to look professional, so make sure you're wearing at least your company polo, or sometimes if it's a more professional meeting, I'll wear a button down with my name tag. And it's just a way to just keep adding to that funnel, right? The more and more people that can come into your network and refer you. We have realtors referring us that I've never even met, which is, pretty amazing. So it's a definite way to kind of scale your system. And I'm working on getting like somebody else, to fill my shoes. But I'd say Chris Sweet said this, or maybe it was Stephen Mandeck, but basically, as the business owner, you are business development, and at least in the early years. So just don't be afraid to show up. Show up, stand out, and make those connections. When I'm there at those association meetings, I'm friendly, right? I'm smiling, I'm showing my teeth. I'm very approachable. I'm energetic. I'm hyping people up. I'm making sure if I see somebody, I do this in the gym too, but if I see somebody kind of down and out or not looking like their best, I'm like, hey, what's going on? You want to talk about it? Or, maybe they don't. Maybe they just want a little pep talk, and fill their cup up a little bit. And like I said, so every city will have an association, in which it's, an MLS tour in my city, but sometimes it's called caravan or whatever it is. Basically, a group of realtors get together, they show what's coming new onto the market, and then they all, as realtors, go and tour all of those houses. So make sure you're not just showing up to the meeting, but you're actually going on the tour too. And if you have a wrapped vehicle, it's best. I'll even invite realtors to jump in the Sprinter van that's wrapped, and I'll have, snacks and drinks in there, and we'll make it fun. Another thing I do, especially, I've been in my associations for a while. But if you're new, just joining the association, make sure you observe which brokerages are showing up the most, whether it's Keller Williams, Century 21, or whatever it is in your area, maybe an independent. Just take note of who's showing up the most for those meetings. And then so the missing step here is not just the MLS tours are great and going on tour is great, but one of my main key strategies with realtors is not just to show up to the meetings, but to actually get into their office, their team meetings at their local offices, and present our company to them. So what I'll do is, in the early days, I've done most of our brokerages, and often I'll do it again at a yearly kind of, uh, interval. But basically, you show up, like, so you've taken note which brokerages show up the most, and then you go and you can kind of tell who's kind of like leaders in those brokerages. And then you go up and you just ask them, after you built that rapport, you go, hey, I'd love to present at your local office and speak to you guys. It won't take very long. What do you say? And if you can't get in from the realtor at the MLS meeting, I'll just show up at their office, and I'll just talk to the front desk person and be like, hey, I'll usually have a $5 or $10 Starbucks, usually $10 now. $5 doesn't get you much anymore. But I'll show up with that $10 gift card, right? Starbucks, you've given them some value, and they're like, oh, thank you so much. And then you do the ask, right? Hey, I'd love to show up to a team meeting at your next meeting or whenever you have time, and just basically present us who we are and what we have to offer your clients. So it's a great way to just get into their team meetings. And then once you're into your team meeting, it's actually a fun picture. We won Industry Partner of the Year. I think that was 2023, just for showing up. It was pretty awesome. But and I can share my presentation with anybody that wants to DM me. But keep your presentation to under 10 minutes, right? These people are busy. You don't want to eat up their entire team meeting. So 10 minutes or less. Show them who you are. Create a clean and engaging slide deck. Make sure it's presentable. And just focus on the value that you bring to their clients. Because any realtor, and you can even push this to lenders and other affiliates, but basically they're all about their client and they want to look the best to their client, right? That's all that they care about so that they can get their repeat business. So just focus on the value you bring, how well you do your job. And if there is something that goes wrong, that you address it and you fix it. It's most important on those realtor referrals. And then, of course, if you have it, introduce your affiliate and referral program right then and there. I know a lot of the CRMs, we went from having like 10 affiliates in our CRM, we use Smart Moving, to like over 300. It's been crazy. So, yeah. And just make sure you, like I touched earlier, you dress the part, right? Don't show up in your crew neck, your crew moving shirt that you would show up into a moving job if you're still doing that. Wear your polo, wear your name tag, wear the slacks, wear the belt. Austin kind of put me on game. He's like, you need to buy this belt with these shoes and tuck your shirt in and just watch what happens. Because like a lot of people think of moving as just kind of like that down and dirty worker. It doesn't have to be that way. The owner doesn't have to look like that. Top management, you can look clean and professional. And something that we do is hand out those $10 Starbucks cards that I handed to the front desk. We hand those to each person that's in that meeting that we're presenting to, and we do that with one of our business cards. And we do that just because we've now given each realtor in that room a little bit more value with the contact information. And now we do that before we present. And now we've bought in their attention, so to speak, rather than just, they feel obligated to basically hear out your entire presentation. They're not on their phones, they're not messing around, they're listening to you. And then at the end, of course, you want to ask for their business cards so you can add them to your affiliate program. And then a good thing to do is yourself or maybe an assistant or somebody in your office follow up within 1 to 2 days. Just, hey, it's Neacail from Murdoch's Moving. We did a presentation, just wanted to, open up a line of communication, and that does wonders. They love that stuff. And then after you've done all of that, don't forget you still need to attend those weekly MLS meetings or however often they are. Like, be consistent. Consistency is key. So just keep showing up to those meetings. Unless I have something extremely important going on, the MLS meeting is important to me. So I'm showing up every single week. And, I often will fist bump people, half the room sometimes. They all, it's just, we make it kind of fun. And then it doesn't have to end at realtors. We've expanded our outreach to mortgage lenders, transaction coordinators, and now I'm going after other home service businesses, because we offer storage. So why not go after contractors and, flooring companies and things like that? And then a bonus, something that I love to do, and I do this personally in my company, and it just fills me with gratitude. Is at the beginning of each month in that first week, is I personally handwrite a thank you card to everybody that had referred us any kind of business. And you can see I do custom made Starbucks cards. Starbucks doesn't let you go any bigger with that logo. Otherwise, I would have filled that card up with our logo. But otherwise, yeah, it's just a great way. And you know what it gets them to do is, you write just, two, three sentences. Hey, thank you for your referral. It means the world to us, whatever you want to say in there. And then they, and you have your customized Starbucks card, and then they put that on their story, right? And then that's just further outreach to their community of people that you might not know. And it just kind of just keeps snowballing. It's pretty amazing to see. Like I said earlier, we had like, this was my mission in 2023 was to grow our affiliate list because I knew that there was a gold mine there. So we went from 10 to over 300 realtor affiliates in our CRM, and I'm constantly still adding. I have a few to add today that I saw come through the pipeline. And so it's pretty amazing to watch. It's not something that's going to get you overnight success. It might get you 1 or 2 jobs. But if you just keep showing up and keep, with that smile on your face and delivering that value, you'll see affiliates is often top 3 of our referral sources. It's just been amazing. These are my social links to my direct personal socials. I'd love to connect with anybody in the audience. If you have any questions or if you want to see my slide deck that I do at realtor offices or anything at all, I'd love for you to connect with me. So.
I love that, man. Thank you so much for sharing. If you guys got any kind of golden nugget that you're like, I'm going to use this, or I needed to hear that today, put it in the chat. Give Neacail a nice little thank you, and put that in the chat so he can get encouraged. Neacail, I've got one question for you. What is one specific way you can share with the audience? I'm like, how do you make it where it's like it doesn't feel like you're just going to these realtors being like, hey, I'm here, here's a card, like I just need your referrals? How do you make it so it's very value giving but also focuses on like what's in it for them? Like, just give me like one specific way someone could take from that.
That's a great question. Thanks, Travis.
Hmm.
What I would say is often realtors always have these little events they need sponsored, right? Whether it's an ice cream social or a dog walk in the park or anything like that. They do lunch and learns. If they come to ask you and it's a brokerage or realtor that refers you quite a bit and they're like, hey, can you sponsor our event for $300? And you get like to put your marketing material on there, just do it. Right? Because that whole brokerage is going to love that. Yeah, it costs you $300 or $500, but that return is going to be huge. And they're going to know that you're that company that puts in, not just them supporting you, but you're willing to support them and their events. And another little tidbit that I do for social media is I have my social media manager sharing their open houses and new listings and anything like that. And I keep it extremely broad. So like I'm constantly trying to innovate ways to give back to them because I don't want it to be a one-way street. Just,
Love
hey,
it.
send me your clients. So
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you being here. We're gonna just take you off the spotlight, and then we'll bring
yeah.
you back on when we do the Q&As on the panel. Thanks so much. Now, the legend here, Sabrina. Thank you for being here. We're so excited for you to share. We're gonna transition from realtors to go into to new revenue streams. And Sabrina, thanks for being here. And I'll let you just take it away.
Hey, thanks, Travis. And I just want to tell Neacail that I am guilty of always showing my teeth. So I love that that phrase that he used. Show your teeth, like never a
Love it.
problem for me. Okay, I am Sabrina Jones. I'm based in Spokane, Washington. So we're on the other side of Washington State from Seattle. Started my company in 2010. And I just want to share a little bit about why you might want to consider diversifying. So we'll go to this slide. And first of all, I just want to tell you like what was my problem. When I started my company, I kept thinking, oh, if I just make this amount, right? If my revenue is just this amount, I'll be able to keep more of it. And it took a while for me to figure out that it's hard to keep money in the moving industry. And I kind of fell into one of these diversifications just on a whim. And when I started my moving company in 2010, I also offered move out cleaning services because I wanted to set myself apart. And I knew there were probably no other moving companies here in Spokane that offered cleaning services. And so we just did that. And so kind of started that way, but didn't really realize the impact. So these two graphs that I show, I know graphs are kind of boring, but I think numbers are really important. And you can see that this is just from 2020 to 2024 that, and this is just local moving. So it's nothing else. It's just local moving, but you can see it's like not doing that great. And so you're kind of a victim of seasonality, interest rates, external things, right? And it's a little disheartening. And then your net profit, if you're calculating that, which is really important, that was also going down. And so, I just wanted to go in a corner and cry some days and years. And so it just made me think, what do I need to do to keep my people employed? Because people need hours, they need to make a living. What can I do to make this job more, what do I want to say, more attractive to them? And so, how I solved it was looking at offering different services because when we would go out and do a move, people loved us. I mean, they trusted us. And so I thought, why not start looking into other services? And when I started, I didn't have a warehouse, kind of like everybody. I didn't even own a truck at the time. I would just rent a truck and tried to keep my overhead really low. But once I dipped my toes in and leased a warehouse, pretty soon, boom, it's like full. Like why didn't I get a bigger warehouse? Because it was a lot of money to pay every month. And so it's just sort of that a little bit of a gamble. It seems like that you're always playing. But warehouse storage has been a game changer because it's recurring revenue. It's just stuff that sits there. It's easy. And it's the same with residential cleaning. And like I said, when I started the cleaning in 2010, over the years, people would say, do you do recurring cleaning? Do you come in like weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? And I was like, look, I don't need another thing to do. But then I thought maybe I should look into that. And so by 2018, that was when I started offering recurring cleaning. And that was also super valuable for us. We got into shipping and receiving, labor only. We've developed relationships with OA or with other agents across the country to provide, either OA or DA services. That's been a game changer for us, as well as O&I moving, office and industrial or commercial moving. We got certified in 2021, and that's helped our revenue as well. And so, as the owner, of course, if you're not paying attention, things can sometimes go downhill. And so, I discovered that I was not paying attention, but that once I did pay attention, I discovered that there were some people on my team that were willing to listen and adapt, and there were some that weren't. And so, the ones that weren't are no longer with me, and the ones that um, are still with me, and we're growing. And I think most of us on the call, as I don't know, I feel like we're all pretty small, but you have to roll with it, right? I mean, things are just always changing. You always have to innovate. You always have to think, what can we do better? What could we do that's maybe new, right? And if you just stop, you're just going to slowly die. Um, the biggest thing for me was my cleaning, the cleaning division, which I've actually since separated from the moving company because it was sort of clouding my numbers. But once I started taking that back over, I took ownership of that. Like I grew the net profit by over like 2000% a couple years ago, and then over 500% between 23 and 24. So it's amazing when you kind of just look into something, develop some systems, get people that buy in, that believe what you're doing, and that the changes that you can see, which you can notice these. I don't need to go through every single graph, but you can see they're all basically going up, which is a good thing. And none of them are local household goods moving or even interstate. Yeah. So this is all just different stuff. Um, so these three graphs, the top one shows the moving revenue through a decade, and like it was good, and then it started going down. And then the cleaning revenue just keeps going up, right? And so then I took those two together, and then in that bottom graph, that's how I said, look what it's done. I mean, even though they're separate now, if I had to, I could take some money from my cleaning business and help the moving business if I had to, right? But it's just, again, it's just proof of that it's going to help sustain your moving company. And no, I do not use the movers to do cleaning or vice versa. So the cleaning technicians that we have are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and it's just been a great business. It's a lot of work, but to me, the net profit is pretty good, pretty worth it. So, um, and then finally, I just wanted, after this, I believe that Travis and his team are providing you guys with resources that we have. And so my resource will be a couple things. I basically provide what I have in my income statement or my profit and loss, same thing, under in the top part, right? So where you have your revenue and your direct costs. So I just sort of listed out everything I have there. So you could like print it out, compare it to yours. It's not like you have to do it that way, but I think it's a good framework to see. And maybe none of you need that, but I thought it was helpful. I think a lot of us get nervous talking about money and how to manage it. I also say, like, what's an industry standard for your gross profit margin? What's an industry standard for your net profit margin? Those are numbers you need to know, because we could talk about revenue all day, but if your expenses are more than your revenue, it's a problem. So, and then I'll also provide some resources for those different areas of diversification. So some websites, certifications, yeah, things like that. So I don't know, people might say I have ADHD or something, but I'm just always looking, how can we serve our customers more than just a move? Because it's a bummer when you lose the job, because the people can't move the furniture back, right? You just lost the job. And that's the hardest thing. It's like on the cleaning side, if they don't go with us and then they choose somebody else that's cheaper, then they'll call us back and go, it wasn't so great, right? Well, their house is still there. It still needs to be cleaned. So you can get a second chance. It's not so much that for moving. So
I love that. It's like you get almost a second bite of the apple. It's like you can get the first bite
exactly.
of the apple and you also get the second bite. And for you, it's apparently a third bite and a fourth bite and a fifth bite, which is amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Out of curiosity, I've got a couple questions, but in the comments, if you guys have added a revenue stream like this to your moving business, put a one in the chat. And if you are heavily considering doing it and you haven't done it yet and heavily considering it, put a two in the chat if you are heavily considering it, because I want to kind of see the feedback from everybody. But one of the things that I've seen here is like, man, what a blessing. The power of just one good foundational business
Mhm.
and the blessing of being able to just then spew off more and more and have more opportunities for revenue. And a lot of us look at our business and we just go, this is it. This is all we can do. I've got a small city, and we make excuses, and we say this is, I can't do cleaning for XYZ and all these things. And it's like, man, you've got an opportunity to expand in so many ways. And this is a vehicle. This moving business is a vehicle for literally however you want. Like the world is your oyster, the city is your oyster. So I share all that to go, what are some of the things that like when someone would bring up, or where you would think of like, I'm going to add cleaning. What were some of the knee-jerk immediate reactions that were negative, that were like, I can't do that because XYZ, or oh, I can't do office moving because of XYZ? Well, I'd like for you to, maybe if you can remember, share some of those, because I think it's very common for us entrepreneurs to go, oh, we could do this, and then immediately here's a problem, and you put a barrier there. Like, what were some of the things you thought through of like, why can't I add? Like, when you thought of the cleaning service, what were some of the things that you're like, I can't do it because XYZ? Do you remember any of that?
What were the things that I thought of why I couldn't do it?
Yeah, the things that immediately your brain just was like, you can't do it because of this reason, or outside pressure, you can't do it because of this. And you had to power through that to start the
Oh,
company. Did you have any of that, that you like, immediately were like, oh, I can't do it because XYZ? And it's like, no, I'm going to push through that. And you executed on it.
no, I am insane. And I was like, it's going to work. We can do this. But the thing is that I can say that all day long, but if I don't have people on my team that we're supporting each other and believing that we can do these things, then it's not going to happen. But it was a lot of work. I mean, when I did it, I was out doing the cleaning and I was doing the estimates. It's just like starting the moving company. Like you do everything. You give the estimates, I mean, I was on the moves, I was driving the trucks. I mean, we've all been there and done that. And then you hope that you find people that, like I said earlier, believe in what you're doing and the value that you're providing. It's kind of like our shipping and receiving recently has blown up over the past year. And I just have my operations manager who's on this call. Thank you, Nick. And then he has an assistant, and those two have just run with it. And that's what I mean is that it's like have to have people on your team that we always say that are smarter than you, see things differently, aren't afraid to challenge you, because that's what's going to take you further. And people that just want to like tread water, um, I mean, they're not going to get you further, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, Travis. I don't remember thinking I couldn't do it. I'm sure there were people working for me that I ultimately fired, that didn't want to change their ways, that were comfortable um, in how they were doing things and didn't want to adapt to what it needed to be. And that was a hard decision. I tell
Mhm.
people all the time I've lost a fair number of friends being a
Mm,
being a an entrepreneur or company owner. So,
yeah,
but I try
that's
to
really hard.
separate the personal from the business.
Yeah, very hard to do. I tell people, one of the greatest joys in my business is I get to work with friends, and one of the greatest sad things about my business is I've lost friends as well. And
Yeah.
that's really hard. I think all of us can agree to that. But you've given us two great takeaways. Number one, people are real. Like, you can't do this on your own. You've got to find good people. And as you said, if they're not good people, they can't keep up or they don't believe in it, it's like goodbye. Like,
Yeah.
have like, oh, let's get you somewhere else where there's plenty of stagnant companies that you can go join.
Yeah.
And then the second takeaway you gave me is like, if I have objections, just don't. Sabrina doesn't. She goes all in. So just don't have objections and don't have concerns. So, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving your giveaway. I think, your P&L giveaway is so powerful because it's like that's our dashboard. That's how we make decisions. So, thank you for sharing
100%.
that, and
Yeah.
we'll bring you right back for all the Q&As after as well.
Okay.
So, thank you so much. Everyone give in the chat, give Sabrina an amazing thank you. Maybe a takeaway that you've learned, and give her some encouragement that she can see in the chat of her time that she spent here today. So, thank you, Sabrina. Now we're gonna move on. The final person here, the man who consistently makes me feel guilty because I'm not working hard enough in my business, because he is always going. So amazing, Chris Sweet. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for sharing. I'll let you take it away on your Moving and Realtor podcast. Thanks for being here,
Yeah.
and take it away.
Thanks for having me on, Travis. I'm happy to be here. So what started me down this realtor podcast journey is, number one, I had a business podcast that was kind of a pain in the neck to get people to. Schedules never align. People would sign up, they never show up. But also, I wanted to find a way to add value to realtors. We all know realtors, and while we love them dearly, we all know they're all pretty much online influencers, and they love being in that spotlight. So, number one, it was a way to uh, continue the relationship with realtors that were already sending us a ton of deals, but also get new realtors in the door that were doing a lot of deals, right? Because another thing we all know about realtors, it's really hard to build new relationships with realtors, especially the successful ones, because they have everybody and their mom that owns a service business knocking on their door. So, what can we provide to them? Well, number one, we can add value to them by creating a high production or high quality production podcast where they can also share that podcast on their social media. And now that broadens our brand awareness, right? Now they're sharing our brand on their social media. It's just a win-win all around. And what we weren't really looking for, we're not really looking at subscribers or anything like that when it comes to like YouTube KPIs or analytics on the back end. All we're looking to do is make them feel special, build relationships, and continue to strengthen relationships that we already had. And it's been really successful for us. Prior realtor referrals were, while we had realtor referrals, they were nowhere near as they were nowhere near as high revenue as they are now on our referral sources, and they weren't as consistent as they are now. So where we maybe would have do $15,000 or $20,000 a month in realtor referrals, now we're trending anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 a month just in realtor referrals, and we're building relationships with realtors that are doing lots of transactions. And another key thing that we keep in mind when we're doing these realtor podcasts is this is something special that we're offering the realtors. So we're looking for realtors that are doing a lot of deals or either send us a lot of deals. We're not looking, nothing against it because everybody has to start somewhere, but we also got to think about it from a money perspective and a value perspective to us as well. Is we're looking for realtors that are pushing transactions every month, not somebody that's just selling two or three houses a year, because while we love them and we would appreciate their business, it's just not cost effective enough for them to bring onto our podcast. And what's really cool too is, I kind of beta tested. I threw it out on social media. I said, who would be interested? That's a realtor to jump on our podcast. And I mean, it lit up so fast that I had to delete it because I mean, it was just getting. I probably had 500 comments on it, and we're actually booked 2 years out. And what we've also found too is now realtors that want to be on our podcast, what they'll do is they'll be like, hey, I sent this referral and that referral. Also, by the way, I want to be on your podcast. So it's kind of like it's a funnel for people that haven't even been on our podcast yet. Um, but what was really important to us too is we want to make sure that this was a high quality production. So, we put a little bit of money into it. We create shorts, we create reels, we create, a long form YouTube video. And then we give all the raw footage to the realtor themselves too, so they can do with it what they please. But it's been a great resource for us to continue to plug into our referral sources and continue to gain revenue off of. And if you want to click over to the next slide, you can. So how you can start a realtor podcast, what I did is very easy. You can jump out there and you just put out, if you got a community page, ask who does podcasts, who has a production studio, or you can set one up yourself. It's more a cost effective way to do it. It does require a little bit more time on the back end as far as doing clips and editing and all that stuff as well. And then the next thing is just jump. Something that's kind of helped me be successful so fast is the ability to make quick decisions and not continue to run circles around an idea. If I have an idea, I run it past my team, we think it's semi good. The best way to figure out whether it's a good idea or not is just to do it and figure it out and not be willing to let perfection hold you back from, that next move that could elevate your company. And then on the back end, just see the rewards. So, hold the podcast, track it, make sure you track it, make sure you tend to those relationships with those realtors, and then really just watch your revenue grow. I know we're probably a little crunch for time, so I'll keep it quick. And if anybody's got any questions in the Q&A panel, I'll be glad to answer those as well.
Wow. Chris, thank you. Thank you so much. I've got a question. How long ago did you start this?
So the podcast?
Yeah.
I started it in January of this year.
This year, January.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you're already generating $40,000 to $100,000 of realtor referrals per month from this.
Yep.
So powerful because I think there's transparently, I think there's people in the audience who are going, I don't even do 40 to $100,000 of sales per month, let alone in just realtor referrals. And I think it's such a powerful example of, man, you focus on that one thing relentlessly, and you can make massive changes in your business where I think a lot of us is, you get kind of scattered, and it's like you've dove in right into this, which is phenomenal. And then you basically had a really great network. If somebody was sitting here going, I may not have that realtor network where I post on Facebook and I just have realtors come to us. If you were in that position, how would you solve that problem for someone who's going, I don't have that kind of network out of the gate? I know I've got some podcast or some realtors on my Facebook channel. Like, is that a belief that needs to be broken, or how would you solve that if you were in their shoes?
Yeah, I would probably just go to Zillow and put in some confinements of houses that I would like to serve, like houses above 500,000 or whatever the case may be, whatever your parameters are for your area. Uh,
Mm,
and then look who's listed that property and start reaching out to them and then connect the dots. Is there somebody that's pretty heavily listing a lot of those kind of houses in your area? Reach out to them and just start that way. There's all kinds of ways you can figure out who's high performing in your area when it comes to real estate. If you're in the real producers is the thing that's nationwide. Join real producers. Ask the guy that's running real producers who has the most transactions in my area. Go to
mm.
that person, ask them if they want to be on your podcast.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And then I've got one more question for you, and then we're going to bring all the panelists up, and we'll go through some Q&As that we've got. But the question is, how often are you doing this podcast?
Yeah, so we do it once a month. We do two guests at the same time. All it takes is from 8 to 10, 8 to 10:30, the first Wednesday every month, and then we clip the heck out of it into Reels and YouTube and all that good stuff. And we got plenty of content for the month.
Okay, so you're doing two podcasts per month that
Two
you
podcasts per
release
month.
out, and you do it
Yes,
all on one day though.
all in one day.
It's beautiful, and I personally got some other questions, but we've got Q&As for everybody. So thank you, Chris, for sharing that. Everyone, just put a thank you for Chris. This man is busy. Sabrina's busy. Neacail's busy, and they really took their time to share everything going on here. So put a thank you in. Give them that encouragement. Let's get rid of the slideshow, Danae, and let's just have all of our pretty faces up, and let's go through some Q&As because we do have Q&As for every guest. And so I want to go through them. And this is your chance, everybody. Here, we've got a little bit of time left where if you've got a specific question, put them into the Q&A section, put them into the comments. We'll try to grab them and go for it. So first off, thank you guys. Let's jump into it because we have 13 minutes left. There's a question for Neacail I'll start with. You ready?
Yeah.
Sherry says, I always have to bring lunch to the office meetings. It's like $300 to $700 depending on the size of office. So, like, are you still bringing everybody a gift card for $10 a gift card, or what are some things you can think through on that or share?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Something I do personally is I offer breakfast at once a month at my local MLS meeting. But I have one of my best friends owns a restaurant.
Mm,
So just part of that network, right? So if you don't have that, then like I would say, I love to do the $10 Starbucks card, just because everybody drinks coffee, and if they don't, they know someone that does. If $10 is a bit more into your budget and it's a large meeting, maybe go down to $5. That'll at least help pay for, a simple cup of coffee or something.
hmm
But any value
We'll
add
get
you
them a
can give
water.
to them, yeah, to get Yeah. So yeah, I tend to always bring something. If it's a lunch, if you can, befriend somebody that owns a restaurant that does catering, and you can work out like, because my buddy that owns a restaurant, I made him a tablecloth. I put his own marketing material on the table, and it's just kind of a two-way street. I'm repping his business as well as my business, and he gives me a discount on that food.
I love that. And then one more question for you, and we'll move on. Is
Sure.
what is a system that you recommend or that you do internally for keeping those relationships like touched on throughout the year? Like you're engaging those throughout the year. Is there a system or a framework or a vision that you have behind how you keep those engaged throughout the year?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have, I got a list from somebody in the industry of every realtor in our area, or I'd say most, and we've input that into our MailChimp account, and we basically have an automatic drip of, touching base and just staying top of mind. Yeah, you're gonna get some negative feedback from, a few, which we did run into. But if you can add that into your MailChimp account or whatever it is that you use to send those automatic emails, value building email campaigns, it's a great way. And we've separated that list, right? We have our all-time customer list as well as a realtor list, and we
Mm,
just do different things with both of those. It's
thank
a
you.
great question.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not my question, so great question whoever asked that. Okay, we're gonna move on. Sabrina, a question for you is: have you explored professional organizing as a new revenue source? Do you have any insights or thoughts that you would share? Be great to hear from you on that.
Yeah, that's actually on my handout that people will get. I am a member of, it's called NAPO, NAPO, stands for National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. It's a great organization. It dovetails well with senior moving. I'm certified as a NASM senior move manager. So those are
Mm,
all, it's kind of services that we're already providing as moving companies, but it's just a little more detailed. It's professionalizing you a little bit more. And it just enhances the trust that prospects have with your company.
mm, I love that.
Yeah.
And then do you have any advice? Another question came in. Do you have any advice to give moving company owners who feel hesitant to reach out into like these non-traditional services, especially when like resources are limited? Like any, amazing Sabrina advice that you'd give to that person? You're like, honestly, just do it. Have
I
no
mean, I'm like, what's
hesitation.
your problem? Why? I thought you started a moving company. Why are you afraid? Like, I mean, you can't be afraid of failure, right?
Uh,
I don't know. I don't get that. And you can start anything on a shoestring, I feel like. I started something called Refurbish Her, right? Because Move Her has the H in it, MOVHER. And I started Refurbish Her. This was a disaster. This was a disaster of an idea that I had. And what we would do is that we would go and move, we'd move somebody, and then they'd be like, well, we don't want X, Y, we don't want X, Y, and Z. So we'd buy
mm,
it from them, bring them back to our warehouse, take pictures of them, put them on Facebook Marketplace, and try to sell them. It was awful. So, like, yeah, I mean, but again, didn't cost us a ton, but it was a failure. So, I mean, we don't succeed at everything, but it's a learning lesson. And I think
mm,
you just have to be willing to try. And it's okay. It doesn't define you if it doesn't work. And just try a little. Like I said, when I started with cleaning, all I did was move out cleaning. That's a great way to start, right? Maybe you have a spouse that would be willing to do that in the early days, or maybe, a friend or whatever. And just give it a try. I just clean the way my mom taught me to clean. And then over the years, I actually, joined a group and learned a system, and, that's all systematized now. But early on,
right.
didn't know what I was doing, but
And do
figured
you
it
use the movers to do the cleaning?
out. I used some of the movers to do the cleaning in the early days. Yeah,
Where
because
some of them go ahead.
I tried to get women to do most of the packing, and
Mm,
so they would end up doing a lot of the cleaning. So again,
mm,
trying to give them more hours so they'd stay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And is there a signal to say like, hey, this is now the time to give up on an idea that's clearly proving not to work? Like, is it
Oh,
like I just feel it, or do you have like you're like, here is this doesn't work, so now I'm done.
yeah, there's definitely, if you're paying attention to your numbers, or you're just with the refurbisher thing, it was like, why do we have all of this stuff sitting in our warehouse making no money, and we're having to go measure it and, try to figure it was just, well, will you take
Yeah.
this much? Well, will you take this much? Like, I don't want to deal with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then one more question for you, then we're going to move on to Chris, and we might have questions afterwards. But another question for you is through NASM and the senior moving, have you ever branched into real estate sales from there, or estate sales?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have not. Although there is a Sabrina Jones who's a realtor in the same city I live in.
No, there is not. Honestly, we need to see a partnership by the end of this. We need to see
So
it.
people have called the moving company going, what a great idea that you started a moving company since you're a realtor. And I'm like, she's blonde. I'm not, but thank you.
You're like, I'll take it.
I'll
Awesome.
take it.
Too funny. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's move on. Chris, really important question. Um, Mark asked, how do you stay so handsome while doing these podcasts? Do you have a secret sauce here, or but real question. Somebody asked, how do you Is there, you've never really had to deal with like a rejection of a gatekeeper when going into these realtor offices or like getting realtors on the podcast because they just want it, right?
Yeah.
So you've never had to deal with that. How would you deal with that if there is some objections on that? Would you just move on or would you try to fight for it?
Mm. I would probably just move on and build reputation in the podcast and then circle back around.
Cool. That's great. Another
Yeah.
question is, Austin wants to know how does your referral closing rates compare to like your organic or paid traffic closing rates? Are they much higher? Are they about the same? What does that look like?
Oh yeah, much higher. I think everybody in this industry knows when you get a realtor referral or even a friend and family referral, the closing rate is substantially higher.
Do you have any kind of rough number? So somebody in the audience is like, my referral or friends and family rate is closing at 60%. Is that good,
Yeah,
bad?
yeah. So from our realtor referrals, we're closing at right around 85%.
Okay, great. So I think that's a really good go standard.
And
If you're
typically, like our typical conversion rate for like paid ads and stuff like that, we're right around 40%.
okay, that's really great. So those are some good standards. If you're sitting here going, here's my realtor referral rate, closing rate. If it's about 80%, you're probably in a good sweet spot. If it's less than that, there's probably some opportunity to look into why is that happening. So another question from Luke, where and we got more of these. Like, where's the podcast at? How can we see it? Like, what's the best way to find that podcast?
Yeah, so you can just go on YouTube and type in best real estate agent, Greenville, South Carolina. That is the name of the podcast. And I did it a little bit for SEO purposes, hoping that it
That's
would work.
That's beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. And then is there a specific way you gain viewers on this podcast, or you just kind of like, I just let it ride?
Yeah, I don't even share I haven't even shared the podcast like or the link on my personal social media. I just let the realtor share it because that's not where I'm looking to add value by getting
Hmm.
subscribers. Now, if we had a bunch of subscribers, would it make it more attractable? Yes, but we're not running into an issue right now where we're having a hard time getting realtors to jump on the podcast.
Yeah, that's amazing. And ultimately, it kind of creates an open relationship to like at least have that connection where maybe you didn't have a strong connection. Have you found that being valuable as well? It's like, well, it's kind of our first time really having a conversation, and that equity in the relationship really helps in the future, obviously.
Yeah, it does, and it also opens up an open line of communication. So, like if a realtor refers you to somebody and something goes wrong in that situation, to where typically they would just move on to the next mover. Well, now they've met me personally. Now they have my personal phone number. They can just call me, and we can try and solve that problem and retain
Hmm.
that referral or retain that realtor as a referral partner.
Yeah. No, it reminds me, there's a marketing company that focuses on movers and they do webinars once a month. They bring on great guests and obviously a clear reason for it. So,
Yeah.
who knows who that is? Um, Another question for you is how do you prepare for content on these podcasts? Like some of us are going like, I can't imagine talking to these realtors. Like, how do you prepare the questions, the content? Like, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, Chat GPT.
Really? Is there a
Yeah.
specific prompt that you do?
Well, what I do originally is I go on their social media and I find out some cues about them, and then I just cue ChatGPT to ask questions around that specific topic. Obviously, we have a
Mm.
bunch of generic questions we ask, like what got you into real estate is always how I start out, let them tell their story. But then I try to personalize it a little bit more by just looking on their social media, seeing what they're into. Do they have a family? Then I just prompt ChatGPT like, how do you manage real estate? Or give me questions on how you maintain a successful real estate business while having a family. And then it just creates questions around that. It gives me probably 30 or 40 questions. I pick 10 or 15. And then I'll also free float too. So like if we get into a conversation and they bring something up, well, then I'll just go off the dome and ask them a question based off that. You know,
Hmm. That's great. And how many hours a week do you think you're spending on this, or hours a month are you personally spending on this?
besides the actual podcast itself,
Yeah,
maybe 20 minutes,
20 minutes. And what about your team? What do you think?
0.
I mean, right there, guys, like 20
Yeah.
minutes. I don't know. It would be fun if someone to calculate 20 minutes of work. Let's just say averaging $70,000 a month of revenue. Like, what is your hourly rate for starting this podcast? Like, what does that look like? Like, that is so phenomenal. So that's great. Last question. Actually, we got two questions real quick on this one. This can be a quick answer. This guy or lady Sherry said, I'm in the DC market. There's just hundreds of other movers. Your competition, what does it look like? I think there's probably a reality that Sherry's here going, there's too many movers. There's so much competition. This isn't going to work for me. What would you answer to that?
Yeah, we have tons of competition in our area too.
Yeah.
We probably have 100 plus moving companies in our area. We have the same issues of, the unlicensed truck in the truck too. It's really just about building value and building a brand that people can relate to, and that also another thing that kind of helps us out too is we're really heavily involved in our community, and it makes it really easier for a customer to tie our mission to their dollars. So they know that their money's not just supplying Swamp Rabbit and profit, but it's also going back to help the community they live in also.
That's great. Very cool. And then there's a question here. Probably the most surprising thing when you started the podcast that you didn't expect to happen.
Uh, like I said, like I guess to revert back to earlier, what I said is having realtors that just want to be on the podcast go ahead and start sending us leads and let me know that they sent leads so they could be on the podcast.
Mm.
And then I get to tell them, hey, we're booked for the next 2 years, so just keep sending us leads, and I'll put you in.
Yeah, keep making it happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's great. Well, I got one more question, and it's going to be for Neacail, and then we're going to close this up. I know you guys have more, but you have ways you can reach out to them. Neacail, a question for you is, how do you deal with like gatekeepers, or how do you know which events to go to? Like, what's a kind of a quick response to that of like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, similar to Chris Sweet's, methodology is like I just like to do the biggest brokerages I can. And if I don't get in through the front desk, like there's a gatekeeper there, usually I can get into the CEO of Keller Williams in my main area, like we become close friends. So if I couldn't get Pat, like she comes to the MLS tours. So if you can't get through the front desk person, then find those top producing agents that have leeway in their own offices and get with them, and then they can talk to front desk and get you past that, because I have ran
Mm,
into that, yeah, where
yeah.
they're like, oh well, we don't do team meetings. I'm like, yeah, yes you do. So
Start
yeah.
start somewhere. Well,
But
I
usually if you
that's
hand that $10, sorry, if you hand that
go
little
ahead.
Starbucks card, usually that gets you into 99% of the offices that you want to be in, because you just
That's
delivered a little
amazing.
bit of value. They can buy their coffee and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll get you in.
That's amazing. Yeah, you got to give a little
You
bit.
got to
So
buy your way in.
buy your way in. Well, Chris, Sabrina, Neacail, thank you so much for being here. Everybody put in the chat, thank you so much. Give them a thanks for spending their hard earned time on this webinar today to try to share as much value. Give them a thanks, give them an encouragement so that maybe if we ask them again to come on a webinar, they're going to be like, yeah, you know what? Let's do that. So thank you guys seriously so much for making this happen. And thank you for just sharing the transparency and the wisdom and the reality. And I appreciate that. Thank you for being here today, and thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. We do a webinar every single month. You can go to rotatedigital.com/webinars. You can see all the past webinars. You're going to be able to download all the pamphlets and the tools that each one of them gave us today to give to you guys as a value add-on. You can watch the past ones. And then every month we do a webinar that tries to bring value to you. So keep on the lookout for that. Sign up for the email so you can get notified. Everyone, thank you for being here today. Thanks for making this happen. You guys are free to go. I'll send you guest panelists an email today thanking you even more. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will see you guys.